And whereabouts are you today?
In Melbourne. I live in Melbourne.
How are things in Melbourne?
They're pretty good. They're almost normal-ish, really.
Right?
Um, yeah, I had my first show back on Wednesday night in a year. That was really fun. And I think only masks and Ubers and maybe on public transport. But yeah, other than that, yeah, and a bit of limited stuff for gatherings and things. But other than that, it's pretty normal now.
Same here, thank goodness.
Yeah, New Zealand came right really quickly. Oh, so what's going? Weren't there new numbers though?
Well, they keep getting people, they keep finding people who are actually in isolation that are coming up with it, and they're catching it from each other in isolation from overseas.
Yeah, okay.
So there's a lot of discussion about that. Yeah, but for the most
I
part,
can
we're all
imagine.
pretty good.
Look at your record collection. It's huge.
Oh yeah, it's coming along. I hate to show off, but it's hard to hide it.
That's good. It's a good backdrop.
I thought so. So you mentioned that you had a gig a couple days
Yes.
ago. How did that go?
Yep.
Because that must have been the first one in a while.
It was the first one since, actually, I think it was the first one since because I went back to New Zealand in February, end of February last year.
Yep.
Or maybe beginning, and I think it was the first show back since then. It was great. I was a bit nervous. I don't know, just felt underprepared, even though I think I was prepared.
I'm sure you were.
Yeah, it was good. It was great. I really like. I don't know. I guess like it wasn't one of those people that really missed playing live when I wasn't doing it, but
Right.
I always like it, and I guess I was like, oh, what if I've broken it? But it was fine.
You were fine because so the show you did in Auckland was at the town hall, wasn't it, on the organ?
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and that was the last one you did up until the other day.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure once I got back to Australia. Um, yeah, so I think that trip. So when I released Please Daddy at the beginning of 2020, and I
Yep.
think I pretty much just got my tour in for my launch shows, and then went to New Zealand. And I think just as I got almost as soon as I got back, that was when all the COVID
Right.
stuff started happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So how has the year been for you?
Do you mean the previous? Yeah.
Yes.
It's look, I got into a new relationship at the beginning of 2020, and also because I pretty much had done. So I recorded Me and Ennui the same year that I recorded Please Daddy towards the end of the year.
Right.
Just with the intention of touring and traveling a lot last year. And then of course I couldn't do that, which was, kind of fine. And then because I'd already done all that recording, I kind of actually had almost like a proper year off, really, which was really nice. So 'cause I never
Yep.
really have a proper holiday or anything, and so that was great. I
Well,
really enjoyed it. And
considering
then
the new record is your like seventh, you probably needed time off. You've
I
been
think
busy.
so. Yeah, I think so. Like, I didn't necessarily feel like that, but I think in retrospect, it definitely didn't hurt to have a year of just like walking the dog and cooking
Right.
food.
Yep. Yep. So now you're getting the machine kind of going again. You did a gig. You got the record coming out in a week or so. How are you
Yep.
feeling about it all?
Well, I mean, that was kind of another good thing about that year, almost hiatus, was because normally, because I try and do, or I have been doing a kind of a record a year-ish,
Right.
I generally like all the, getting together all the assets for the release, like, the artwork and the, getting a video and doing your press pictures and all that kind of stuff is always a bit of a hectic time. But because I kind of had a year to do it, I kind of I feel really prepared. And like, I think, of all the releases I've done, it's probably the nicest kind of most realized package in terms of like all the art and everything. And then I was able to do things like, because I had extra time, like I did a thing for 100 pre-orders, did hand painted covers for those, and like that, actually, to be honest, that was a bigger project than what I anticipated before I
Right.
started it. I still have 20 to go, and no, actually I don't have. Yeah, I do. I have 20 to go, and I just at the moment I'm so sick of painting, but and also because as I kept doing them, the more I did, the better I got at it, because I don't usually paint that much in that short
Uh-huh.
of amount of time. So I
Right.
could feel the improvement. But because I was improving, each one was taking longer and longer to do because they're getting more and more detailed. And so what I thought would be like, half an hour, an ink drawing was just blowing at you. So that was a big job. But yeah, because I had more time, I was able to kind of do stuff like that, which is nice for me.
Right, right. So you mentioned that you recorded the songs for me and Ennui like over a year ago or so, and it's been kind of
Mhm.
sitting there waiting. And now
Yep.
time has passed and things have happened and the world has changed. Um,
Yep.
how do you feel about presenting what's your relationship with those songs now? Has it changed at all?
Um, it's probably, yeah, definitely. I mean, I always kind of work like this, but with that album especially, the songs uh, were written and recorded pretty immediately at a time, and they kind of have lots of very like specific content and things like that. So obviously, naturally, as you kind of move away from that, you feel a bit further from um, being affected by them so dramatically emotionally. Like,
Right,
um, but I think I don't really regret, or I don't mind that, because I feel like, especially with those songs, it's probably a bit like it's probably healthier for me to be performing them and playing them when I'm further away from the point, rather than being right. I don't
right,
like crying on stage and things like that. It's too much. I think it's a bit like seems a bit gratuitous and quite unnecessary. And so like,
right.
yeah, having a bit of a space is good, I think. Yeah.
So a little emotional distance is a good thing.
Yeah, I think so. And also, like, I'm sure lots of people, I don't think this is particularly unique to me, but I feel like, um, the generally with songs of mine, they're very specific, but then I just find, you always find new kind of hooks in them with
Right,
which to hang current circumstances and things. So they still will be applicable to different situations and scenarios and stuff, as well as having that emotional distance for sure. Yeah.
right, right. So the show that happened a couple nights ago, what was it like? How many people were there? What kind of people were there? How did they react?
So it was so one of the COVID initiatives in Melbourne is they're obviously trying to do lots of outdoor kind
Right.
of events and eating and things like that.
Yep.
And so that it's a big kind of um, like theatre, like play theatre, called the Malthouse Theatre, and kind of by the city in Melbourne. And so obviously they can't use the inside anymore. So there's a big outdoor area that's kind of between an art centre and the theatre itself. And so they've put a massive, like, proper big stage with all, like, and basically set up a big outdoor kind of arena thing there. I think so, but because of COVID, it's all seated, so there's just tables kind of dotted around this quite big area. And I think capacity was 250. I think that's as much as they can have in the, like, it's basically like I don't know, like maybe is bigger than a school quad kind of thing.
Right.
And then yeah, and I think it's pretty cool. Like, people, you can order food from and drinks from the bar. They bring it out to you and stuff to avoid people queuing in groups or whatever. And who was there? I think like, I knew lots of people, because I think lots of people of my friends, or lots of acquaintances and stuff, would have really wanted to go to the first one. So I think
Sure.
because so it was all, so I knew lots of people, but also didn't know lots of people. And I played with a friend of mine, Esther, who does music under the name Sweetwell. You may have heard her maybe. And
Mhm.
so she played first, and then because of COVID, they moved everyone out, and so you had to
Right.
buy tickets to either or show, like, or both, but you couldn't just automatically go to both. And yeah, I think played for an hour because they're quite long sets, and because of the content, especially of that record, I kind of like, the older I get, I try and keep it pretty light and funny and banter, because otherwise I think it's just it's quite bleak for me, but also I think it's a bit too bleak. Like I kind of like to temper it a little bit by being
Sure.
a bit silly and kind of stopping songs and pointing things out, or
Right.
complaining if there's not complaining if people don't respond well enough to a song that I really like, or things like that. um, but yeah, so that kind of makes it a lot of fun for me to be able to, and it kind of stops it from being too much of just an emotional mangle. To if I can kind of do that a bit, yeah.
Right, right. So I was hoping we could talk a little bit about your songwriting process, and
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere where you kind of pushed against the notion that your music was raw because it inferred that there wasn't a lot of craft to it.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think, yeah, I mean, I do. These days, I don't really care as much, but I think at the time I felt, at the time, I think I felt like, because I've been recording and performing music for like 20 years now, almost,
Right,
and like I think um, sometimes people, or I interpreted that kind of comment, and I've kind of, I think it was also because I had it a lot over a period of time, and I guess just a bit uh, resistant to accepting it as a comment because of all the time and effort and money and stuff I put into
right,
doing
right,
it.
right,
Yeah, and like like I do have. I think what's more evident to people now, but maybe wasn't as evident in the past, but is that my focus, it never really has been on like skill or polish or like a perfect performance. My focus has always been on like capturing energy and kind of um yeah, in a way that's satisfying to me, being able to articulate something in a very like kind of complete and exhausted kind of way. And
right,
so I guess if people comment on the aesthetic rather than that, I guess if I thought about it, I'd probably think that maybe they had missed the point, and we were kind of talking about something that is kind of secondary to what interested in.
right, right, right.
Yeah.
So I'm curious when you're recording in the studio, making the record,
Yeah.
and you say a song like "At Your Leisure," which is kind of very intimate and personal, and kind of has what is the mood like? What is the vibe like? Are you in there by yourself? Are you working with people?
So probably I think so. I always record with my friend Jeff O'Connor.
Uh-huh.
He's kind of like a Hey, sorry, my dog's being annoying. Sylvie. Um, he's like he's same age as me ish, like almost exactly the same, and we've known each other for a long time, and he does his own music as well.
Right,
And then so he's recorded maybe I can't remember. I think we've done either 5 or 6 records together now.
all right,
Um, so we've got like, and we're friends like we socialize. Actually, right now he's living in the apartment above the bar that I work at a couple of nights a week. So I see, always see a lot of him. So I think because of that, like we have there's not much embarrassment or awkwardness
right,
between him and I. Like so, basically when I did me and Ennui, it was just two of us. I've spent more time staring at the back of that man's head than anything on earth. Him just on his computer doing whatever he does, and then it just had an upright piano in the corner. And then so with that record, that was not exactly how we would normally work, but we so I recorded it in one day, and maybe did like 3 takes max of each song. And like I say, like because I wasn't really focused on Jeff's quite a perfectionist, so
right,
I had to kind of explain to him that on this record, like I wanted to, because even though I stand by all the previous work we've done together, I always feel like something is a bit lost in vocal takes when you kind of comp vocals and do things repetitively, and then
right.
by the time you might pick the perfect pitch take, you lose a lot of kind of character and emotion in it.
Hmm.
So I kind of explained to him, like I don't want to I'm not concerned with if I sing. Like, there's a lot of kind of pretty hit and miss singing on that record, I think. But yeah, and he was quite resistant to it, to be honest. He kept kind of saying, "Okay, cool, but if you could just sing that one bit again." And
Right.
like, it got to, we never really fought. We've never fought ever, but it got to the point where I was like, you can't make me sing it. Like, like you can't. Like, I don't know what, because he kept being like, yeah, okay, cool. But if you, and I was like, well, unless you stand me up and like, I don't know what you're gonna do. But then I think I have to remember he wants his work to be respected in the way that he wants it. So
Sure.
I imagine a lot of it is him not wanting to put out something that people think is maybe poorly recorded or
Right.
something like that. But I think it all came off in a good way in the end.
Very good. And I see you have a video for the song. Whoops, my microphone's falling off here. For the song Full Mood.
Yeah.
That is very New York oriented, Radio City music and all that. So tell me a little bit about what was going on when you were making the video.
Cause you got me in a full mood, and I'm on fire for you. Wanna color in the words.
So when I did kind of before I released Please Daddy, a guy called Tristan who lives in LA got in touch with me just on Instagram.
Right.
And because I'm someone who quite often I'm one of those annoying people that makes friends on the internet and then you're like, oh no, but I've never met them, like all the time.
Right.
But yeah, so Tristan got in touch with me, and like, so we just kind of became friends, chatting, and had lots of similar kind of things in common. And he really liked my music, which always helps.
That does help.
Helps the friendship along. And then makes music videos, and so he made a video for When Will Death Come, which is the first song off my last record, and that went really amazing. And like he's also very generous. Like I think I just had super tiny video budget for that, and this record he actually made literally for nothing, because I had zero budget, because I changed record labels kind of in 2020. And yeah, I don't know, he's just like a really great person. So he was in New York to get out of LA for COVID stuff, because I think his parents live in Connecticut, so I think he was around there.
Right.
And then I think he just actually he told me the main reason he wanted to make it because he really wanted to hook up with that guy that's in the video, so he wanted to spend a day with him. I don't think he even managed to, which is the tragedy of it all.
Well.
But yeah, and then so he wanted me to be in it, and so he got me to just do a bit of like stand in front of a wall and do a bit of thing, and he made me put my iPhone on prop it up so he could like direct me, like tell me where to stand.
Right.
And then yeah, he's just a really great, like I feel like it's one of the things that kind of has helped me kind of do as much as I had. Like you said that I've released lots of records or whatever. Like I think having, I don't work with lots of people, but the people that I do work with, I just feel very lucky to have encountered people that I mean, I'm probably a bit picky in that I don't waste too much time with things that I don't feel are helpful or enjoyable for that.
Right.
Because I try and preserve my enjoyment, because otherwise it would be hard to make it sustainable.
Yeah.
As well. But yeah, no, Tristan's just great. So I love the video that he did. I was really pleased with it.
Very cool. Now you are a Kiwi. You were from New Zealand.
Yes.
So what is your relationship with the country these days?
So I'm from Taumarunui, which is in the middle of the North Island.
Yep.
Lots of my impressions of New Zealand are probably super out of date, because even though I've gone back occasionally, I haven't spent any kind of significant time there since I was probably 21. So I've been here for 17 years now. well, kind of on and off. But yeah, for me, it's probably not fair opinions because I have like kind of quite claustrophobic and
Yeah.
um, quite ominous associations with where I grew up because my family life wasn't like I had my family really difficult,
Right.
and so wanting to escape from that and get out of there and that kind of thing, and so yeah, so that's kind of got odd connotations for me really. And in terms of a country, I think definitely probably very similar to Australia and stuff. I think um, Australia's got so much money though. I always notice when I go back to New Zealand how like um, everything in New Zealand everything in Australia is just so much wealth around, and like New Zealand seems like less so like
Right.
that.
Right.
Um, yeah.
Okay.
Are you from whereabouts are you from?
Well, I was born in England, but I grew up in the States, and then I moved here when I was almost 40 back in 1994.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And what's your impression of New Zealand?
I'm mighty glad I'm here.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, I
I was
mean,
talking to sorry?
yeah, I mean, compared to being in the States, this is the place to be.
Yeah. I was talking to someone in LA this morning, and he said that they'd be, I mean, you've probably obviously got friends and stuff there that you would be speaking to or family, but yeah, I was just, it kind of put into context what I've seen people saying on the internet or whatever, because he's kind of talking about COVID, and I said, he's like, we've been in quarantine in our house for 331 days, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah,
And I was like, but that's not enforced. And he was like, yeah, but like no one's doing anything about it, so we just don't want to get COVID. And I was like, that's so fucked up. Like the
yep,
feeling of having no one actually looking after you or being aware of you would be so
that's the
just
way it is. Yes.
it's crazy. What's your what do you have to say about that kind of stuff, or what's your because you'd have
Well,
friends and stuff there, I imagine.
yeah, I mean, I speak to my sister pretty regularly. She lives in Florida, and
Mm,
like they just had a birthday party, or I mean, they could have a couple of people over, or nothing, or virtually nothing, and it's just like
mm,
there's just nothing going on. No, everybody's
mm,
afraid. Everybody's in fear for somebody's going to
mm.
sneeze and bad things are going to happen, and that's not a way to be.
Yeah, well, it's hard to know what that kind of like long-term anxiety will do overall. Like to be,
Yep.
and that what kind of struck me was how disillusioned you'd feel. Like at least in Australia, like Australia obviously don't get me wrong, has its share of like political problems and stuff, but
Sure.
in terms of um, say, so the second lockdown was 3 months, right? And
Right.
so and that was like with you probably know this, sorry if I'm mansplaining, but like I think there was like an 8 o'clock curfew and you could only leave the house for 1 hour a day.
Right.
And then I've got a dog, so I kind of stretched that a little bit because it
Dog
was,
got to walk.
and you kind of had to be a bit like lots of people were, especially friends of mine that had lived by themselves were getting really depressed, and it's like if you're doing stuff responsibly, you kind of have to do, I felt like you could take responsible liberties with it,
Yep. Yep.
to an
Yep.
extent.
Yep.
But then yeah, and then people were kind of complaining about it, and there's a handful of like protesters or whatever. But like I was saying to my partner Simon, like, imagine if the government had just done nothing.
Yep.
Like
Well, that's
everyone,
kind of what happened in the States. The government did nothing,
yeah.
and so nobody knows what to do. And there's so varied opinions about what's really happening. No, nobody trusts anybody. Nobody knows if it's safe or if it's not. It's crazy over there. Yeah. And I interview a lot of artists, musicians who are in the
Mm,
States, so I get an update
mm,
from everybody every day, depending on where they are. And
mm,
a lot of them are doing really well because they're happy. They got a little studio in their home and they can sit and make music and write songs. But then
mm,
you got other ones who are like, especially like rock and roll guys who are out there supposed to be on stage with their guitars and whatever, and they're like,
mm,
"What do we do?"
mm.
So I don't
Well,
know.
it's been quite good here, like in terms of, so we got like obviously wage subsidies for the government,
Right,
but even for like I was able to apply for like a couple of small grants because I lost income through like my day job was less than my music income, like at that
yep,
point. And so I was getting compensated for the loss of my day job, but not for the rest of it. But then, yeah, I was even able to get like a couple of like grants that took maybe like an hour to apply for, and the turnaround was like 24 hours, and got my rent paid for like maybe three months, I think.
Yep.
Was one of them, and that was purely from yeah, having the income that I lost from not working as a musician, which was kind of amazing. Like I don't know what I would. Yeah, it was super
Yeah.
helpful.
It's kind of the same here. And then again, I spoke to friends in the States, and none of that was happening for them.
It's, it's almost, I don't even know what to say. Really, is it like what what can you say about?
Yeah. So do you work? You say you work in a bar?
Yeah. So I work. I always mostly have worked as a chef. So I work 3 nights a week at a bar that my friend owns. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it good fodder for writing songs?
No, it's the opposite. I hate working now. I'm over it. It takes up all my time.
Right.
Even if I have work at like, because I start at 4 and it just destroys my whole day. And like, I'm relatively productive when I've got time on my hands, but like
Right.
work really is a spanner. I got in trouble. My friend / boss told me off for being on my phone the other night, and I was trying to organize like lots of stuff. I was just like, I've got to like, why am I here? This is so annoying. But I do like cooking and stuff, but I think, yeah, kind of before COVID stuff, I was definitely fingers crossed, hoping to just kind of hustle my other stuff a bit more and
Right.
not do the day job anymore.
Right.
And that's kind of been a bit belated now. But I just don't want to be the person that's working there who hates working there. You know what I mean? You know how that person's always the worst person in the world.
Right.
So I just want to leave before I become a complete dickhead.
You don't want to be that person. Yeah. Fair enough.
No,
so do you have a plan for the year now? Everybody's feeling kind of renewed and refreshed that it's 2021. So are you taking that kind of?
What am I doing? So the record comes out on the 5th.
Yeah.
And then I'm getting married on the 6th.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I know. And then I think
you're getting married on the 6th, and your record's coming out on the 5th.
Yeah, it's everything's very stressful at the moment, but it's fine. I've got my house set up for our for the strippers for our bachelor party that we're having tonight.
Nice.
That's what I've been doing all morning, is just like talking on the phone and cleaning. My partner Simon, he's a bit the same as me, like just heaps of energy and very turbo. So I think that's why we were like, it'll be fine. We'll just do it all in the same couple of weeks.
Right. Why not?
But then, yeah, what else for the year? I think I'm gonna, like, I've written, what potentially could be another record, but I kind of want to, I'm not sure exactly what to do instrumentation wise at the moment, or kind of sounds. I'm kind of, but I'm just gonna sit on that for a little bit. And my temptation always to rush heaps and quickly do another record next year. But then I don't know, I kind of feel like maybe that's kind of also was the temptation of tying this record and the previous 2 together as a kind of package, so I can viably just sit back for a second and let that have a bit of breathing room, I think, because I don't want to be forced to feel like I have to do a record every year, and I don't really need or want to. So
and who knows, maybe you'll come to New Zealand and play.
I know. Well, I want to come to New Zealand like very soon, but
they're having a problem with the with people coming back and forth. They're trying to open it up, but then stuff happens all the time. So I think it'll happen eventually, because
hopefully, and I want to come back in like April or May and maybe do some shows, but fingers crossed, I guess.
I've enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, you too. Very nice. And sorry to cut it short. I apologize for that.
Well, hopefully you'll come around and play somewhere around Auckland here, and we'll see you then.